Can we communicate with the deceased? Comprehensive examination of evidence and experiments 1. Introduction. The question of whether communication with the deceased is possible has fascinated humanity for centuries, transcending cultural, religious, and scientific boundaries. At its core, this inquiry touches upon fundamental human desires: the need for connection beyond death, the search for meaning in existence, and the hope for continuity of consciousness. This report systematically examines multiple lines of evidence, including near-death experiences, psychic mediumship, scientific experiments on consciousness, and personal accounts of after-death communication. The debate sits at the intersection of neuroscience, psychology, parapsychology, and spirituality. Materialist perspectives argue that consciousness is purely a product of brain activity, while alternative theories propose that consciousness may persist beyond physical death. The implications are profound. If verifiable communication with the deceased were possible, it would revolutionize our understanding of existence. This report does not seek to prove or disprove afterlife communication, but rather to present the evidence objectively, highlight key controversies, and explore ethical considerations. By evaluating NDEs, mediumship research, laboratory experiments, and first-hand testimonies, we aim to provide a balanced perspective on this enduring mystery. 2. Near-death experiences, windows into the afterlife. 2.1 Defining NDEs and common features. NDEs occur when individuals on the brink of death, often during cardiac arrest, trauma, or calm report vivid, transcendent experiences. Research identifies recurring elements. Out-of-body experiences. Individuals perceive their physical body from an external vantage point, sometimes accurately describing events they could not have witnessed normally. Phenomenon. A sensation of moving through a dark passage toward a radiant light. Life review. A panoramic replay of one's life, often accompanied by emotional reflection. Encounters with deceased loved ones or spiritual beings. Overwhelming feelings of peace, love, and unity. Studies estimate that 10 to 20% of cardiac arrest survivors report NDEs, with higher rates among children and those facing life-threatening illnesses. 2.2 Scientific explanations versus spiritual interpretations, neurological theories. Temporal lobe disturbances. Abnormal activity in brain regions linked to memory and perception. Oxygen deprivation alters neural function, potentially inducing hallucinations. DMT release. The psychedelic compound dimethyltryptamine, naturally produced in the brain, may generate vivid visions resembling NDEs. Spiritual interpretations. NDEs provide evidence of consciousness existing independently of the brain. Veridical NDEs, where individuals accurately describe events during clinical death, challenge materialist explanations. 2.3 Veridical NDEs and the consciousness debate. Some NDEs include verifiable details. Dr. Bruce Grayson's research highlights cases where patients reported events that occurred during their unconscious state, verified later by medical staff. Such accounts raise critical questions. If the brain is inactive during clinical death, how can consciousness persist? Do these experiences suggest a non-local aspect of consciousness? 2.4 Transformative effects of NDEs. Survivors frequently report lasting changes, reduced fear of death, increased altruism and spirituality, shift from materialistic to transcendent values. These effects occur regardless of prior religious beliefs, suggesting NDEs may trigger a universal psychological or spiritual awakening. 3. Psychic mediumship. Bridging the divide. 3.1 Historical context. Modern spiritualism began in 1848 with the Fox sisters, who claimed to communicate with spirits via knocks. While later exposed as frauds, their case sparked widespread interest in mediumship. The Society for Psychical Research, founded in 1882, sought to investigate such phenomena scientifically. 3.2 Types of mediumship. Mental mediumship. Receiving messages from spirits. Physical mediumship. Alleged materializations of spirits, though often debunked as trickery. 3.3 Scientific scrutiny and skepticism. Cold reading techniques, where mediums infer details from subtle cues. Hot reading, using pre-researched information to feign supernatural knowledge. The Barnum effect. People accept vague statements as personally meaningful. Despite fraud, some studies report mediums providing accurate, unexplainable information under controlled conditions. 3.4 The Super Psi versus Survival Hypothesis. Super Psi hypothesis suggests mediums access information via extraordinary psychic abilities rather than contacting the dead. Survival hypothesis proposes that mediums genuinely interact with discarnate entities. The field remains divided due to the difficulty of ruling out super psi in experiments. 4. Scientific experiments on consciousness and the afterlife. 4.1 The Gansfeld experiments. These studies test telepathy by isolating a receiver in sensory deprivation while a sender transmits images. Meta-analyses show hit rates slightly above chance, though critics cite methodological flaws. 4.2 Remote viewing in government research. The U.S. government's Stargate project explored remote viewing for intelligence purposes. While some successes were reported, the program was discontinued due to inconsistent results. 4.3 Instrumental transcommunication. Attempts to capture spirit voices or images via electronic devices. Skeptics attribute EVPs to audio pareidolia. 4.4 Reincarnation research. Dr. Ian Stevenson's work at the University of Virginia documented cases of children recalling past lives with verifiable details. 5. Ethical and personal dimensions. 5.1 Ethical concerns in mediumship. Exploitation of grief. Vulnerable individuals may spend thousands on unverified readings. AI grief tech. Digital recreations of the deceased raise consent and authenticity issues. 5.2 After-death communications. Many people report spontaneous encounters with deceased loved ones, including sensing a presence, dream visitations, symbolic signs. These experiences often provide comfort, but are rarely scientifically verifiable. 6. Conclusion. An unresolved mystery. The evidence for afterlife communication remains inconclusive but intriguing. NDEs, mediumship, and psi experiments challenge conventional neuroscience, yet no definitive proof exists. Personal experiences, however, continue to inspire belief in life beyond death. Future research may benefit from advanced neuroimaging during NDEs, tighter controls in mediumship studies, cross-disciplinary collaboration between scientists and spiritual practitioners. Ultimately, whether communication with the deceased is possible may depend not just on empirical evidence, but on how we define consciousness itself. The search for answers continues, blending science, spirituality, and the deeply human need for connection beyond mortality.